Well, bring out the brooms. That's a sweep for the Toronto Blue Jays. But how much do you really take away from this? A lot of injuries, a lot of call-ups. How do the Blue Jays manage moving forward?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back. As always, I'm Braden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Iwasko. Carter First, too, as well. Our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. And if you guys want to go follow us on Instagram, TikTok, those are at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you haven't already, make sure you do hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. It's free. You might as well do it. It does help us out. Keeps us at the top of your page. You guys get your shorts, your live streams, your videos, your podcasts, the whole ordeal. And if you're listening anywhere else, we appreciate it. Go over to the YouTube anyway. Drop a subscription. Lot to get into. A lot to get into because it was a Toronto Blue Jays series sweep. And they needed that so badly. And at some points, we weren't sure if it was going to happen. There were some plays that I didn't love. There were some plays that were awesome. There were injuries. There were call-ups. The return of Babe Schneider. There is a ton to go over here. A ton. I don't even know where you want to start, Carter. I guess we go through the games a little bit, talk about sort of what happened in each of them, because there was something to come up in every single game. I guess the big one, let's just talk about this right off the start before we really do get into the games. Daulton Varsho, not looking good.
Yeah, not ideal, obviously, from that weekend. You have Anthony Santander going on the IL. You have Daulton Varsho, who had the hamstring strain. But when that injury happened, I thought this was going to be he might be out for a month. He might be out for a month and a half. And it did come out that it was a grade 1 left hamstring strain, which is on the lower end, obviously, of the severity. And he was placed on the 10-day IL. So going to be out for at least that 10-day period. Probably more of a 2-week injury, but it's probably the best case scenario with Daulton Varsho. As if this is such a good weekend and there's so many good things to talk about. You start with one of the only bad things that we can talk about from this weekend series. For me, Daulton Varsho being injured definitely sucks, but we just watched a very fun series of baseball. This was the most fun I've probably had all year. I don't care if it's the Oakland Athletics. That's one narrative that has already been starting to happen with this Blue Jays team is that, it's the Oakland Athletics. They've won one game in their last 18 ball games. And again, that has a little bit of validity, but the Oakland Athletics win counts the same as the Los Angeles Dodgers win. It counts the same as beating the San Diego Padres. It counts the same as beating the Texas Rangers, whoever it may be. These wins all add up, and they all count for the same thing anyway. And this team would have split the series. They would have lost a couple games. They would have lost that game 4 because of George Springer decides that third base is a trampoline. The narrative would have been a whole lot different. People would have been very pissed off. So with this series, with this offensive output we've seen in this game, all 4 games, they scored 8 runs or more. When have we seen that? I don't care, again, who's on the mound. It could be, a little league guy from Hawaii. I don't really care who it is. It could be me pitching in beer league. They got the runs. They had an offensive explosion. Addison Barger was ridiculous. Lathan Lucas continues to be hot. Vladimir, Bichette, Alejandro, Kirk, George Springer. Unk was back in this series. Such a fun weekend of baseball. I don't care who the competition is. It is so hard to sweep a 4-game series.
Absolutely. No, it was an absolute blast of a weekend for baseball. It's fun. When your team is doing well, it's fun. They're a half game back of a wild card spot right now. And I know it's still early to be looking at standings, but at some point we're going to have to. And to be around the playoff line and be in the fight compared to last year is something massive. It's fun. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you wanting to watch this team. And don't get me wrong, there are problems. There are times that we get upset, but after coming off a weekend of this, I don't really want to come on the podcast and be overly upset because it was fun. I had a blast, and we don't get to be excited and, having fun a lot of times on the podcast. So this is one weekend that we can come to you guys on a Monday and be pumped that we just watched the Blue Jays score 1,000,000 runs. And you know what? I think, Carter, one guy I want to talk about, we'll talk about Ernie, Clement, we'll talk about Babe being back, we'll talk about Vladdy and Bo, but Addison Barger might be the biggest dog. And the two of us might need to eat a little bit of crow because we said going into this season that Addison Barger just wasn't our guy. We didn't think, again, all the pieces were there, but it just seemed like a guy that wasn't going to be able to put it together. And yeah, we were wrong on that one. The guy looks amazing, clutch hitting, timely hitting, hits for power, and just sort of seems like a blue collar guy. Like just goes out there, does his job, and gets a little excited. You see him hit that home run, and it's nice to see a little emotion. It reminds you it's a kid's game a little bit, right?
Yeah, such a fun weekend, obviously, from Addison Barger. 3 home runs, all over 400 feet, all over, I believe, 105 miles per hour. So he is hitting the cover off the baseball. And like you said, the skill set has always been there. He's going to throw the ball harder than a lot of people can even hit the ball. That's one nice thing about Barger. Obviously, when he gets good contact, when he squares up a baseball, that ball is absolutely going to fly. And one of the biggest reasons I think Addison Barger is starting to have a little bit of this breakout here. Again, it is pretty early to say that still, but he had 3 home runs over the series. I'll go over his stats after this. But his chase rate has gone way down. It looks like he has a lot better of knowledge of the strike zone. There's a lot of times last year we would see him swinging out balls in the dirt. We'd see him chasing pitches a whole lot. He seems like he is a little bit more calm at the plate. Is just a little bit more confident in himself. Just waiting for the pitcher to come to him. And that happened multiple times this series. A couple changeups over the middle of the plate, a couple sliders over the middle of the plate, a couple fastballs over the middle of the plate. And he did not miss those pitches whatsoever. What a series from him. What a series from Ernie Clement, who's another guy I want to go into. But before we kind of get into more specifics, I just want to go over the overall output from this offense over this weekend. Because again, very fun weekend of baseball offensively. When there's a lot of people doubting, us included, a lot of people doubting what this offense could do continuing on down the stretch. So the Blue Jays in this 4-game series against the Athletics, 39 runs scored. Is that good? You tell me. 56 hits, 11 home runs. The power is not necessarily an issue right now. 19 walks. Who needs Anthony Santander when you got Addison Barger? I mean, this is what we're kind of asking for from Santander. This little bit of a stretch here. Again, it only has been like this last couple weeks here. So things go up and down in the season. I'm sure Addison Barger will have a couple games where you have to kind of pull our hair out and we'll have some tough at bats. That's everyone in baseball. Vladdy's going to go through that. Bichette's been through that. We're going to have to see that with every player in Major League Baseball. There's lots of peaks and valleys, obviously, but even Barger in these last 30 games, 293 average, a 364 on base, 535 slugging percentage. That's over an 800 OPS. Obviously, that's pretty close to a 900 OPS over that stretch. So this is a guy that we've wanted to see throughout this Blue Jays lineup. This team hasn't recently, but start the season lacked a lot of power. Addison Barger has come to this offense and been an absolute spark plug for this team. Has been so fun to watch with the raw athleticism this guy displays day in and day out.
Yeah, it is unbelievable, Carter. And, you were talking about his chase rate. And one thing I think I noticed that's different is last season, what we'd see from Barger is he would chase a pitch, but then he would chase the next pitch as well. And you're like, well, you just saw it. This year, even when he does chase a pitch, it's sort of like a reset to him. And he's like, okay, I know what to look for now. Whereas we weren't seeing that in the past. So great strides from Addison Barger. You're seeing the player he can be. And I think that's really, really exciting as a Toronto Blue Jays fan, because you know that there are some guys in the pipeline that are going to come up and be difference makers. But also it's baseball, and there's guys that maybe you think aren't going to do anything and end up being major leaguers. You talk about Davis Schneider, Ernie Clement, Addison Barger, all these guys. You weren't really sure if they were going to be able to make it, and they've come in certain situations and been the guy. So now can Addison Barger build on that? That's what's going to be very interesting and continue to have continued success. I'm really, really pumped about that. The Toronto Blue Jays now, Carter, sitting 20th in the league in home runs. And from what was a huge problem before this, I mean, before this series, we had the conversation that this team still is lacking power. You start putting Addison Barger up higher into the lineup, and he starts being able to drive in runs. That's what you need. If you can get the Bichette to hit some home runs, that's great. If you can get Vladdy to start picking, being the Vlad we all expect with the power and the home run ball, this could be a very dangerous lineup, especially if you have Varsho back hitting home runs. Again, ideally Santander picks it up eventually, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, it all stems from the injury problem. But I think you're seeing this team start to round itself out. Now, when they go into the next series, we'll see if it's a complete shift and it was just the Athletics, or if we're starting to see this team turn a new leaf here.
See, and you're getting production again throughout the order from the top all the way down to the bottom. You're out without Anthony Santander. You have been without Daulton Varsho since kind of the middle games of that series. And Ernie Clement, guys stepping up. Guys like Jonathan Clase looking really good. Alejandro Kirk has looked unbelievable in this last little bit of stretch as well. Nathan Lucas, talked about as Barger, obviously. Miles Straw had a few hits in this series. So you're getting a lot of production top down in this order. But one guy that I've always liked on this podcast, always been a huge advocate for. What a series this guy did have. A little bit of a revenge tour, obviously, for Ernie Clement, who used to be a part of the Oakland Athletics. I'm just going to go over what this guy did in a 4-game stretch. He had 11 hits in 4 games, 2 home runs, 4 doubles, 6 RBIs. That's a 6.11 average in this series and a 17.78 OPS. Is absolutely ridiculous stuff from Ernie Clement. This guy's been mashing lefties all season. He got 3 lefties in this series. This guy's a must start against left-handed pitching. It doesn't matter when Andrus Gimenez comes back. It doesn't matter if they make a massive trade. This guy is unbelievable against lefties, and he definitely displayed it in this series with the numbers that he put up.
Yeah, Carter, and before this, or I think it was before this last game, Ernie Clement had the 5th best average against left-handed pitching in the entirety of baseball. Out of all of baseball, Ernie Clement, the 5th highest batting average against lefties. So unbelievable from Ernie Clement. Now, again, he's another guy that I'll be looking for to see, can this continue? Can the production continue? And obviously you brought up the Andrus Gimenez of it all, which I'm terrified for when that guy comes back.
Because he can chill on the couch a little bit longer. I don't think we're going to mind too much about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, you don't want to give up Ernie Clement's spot in the lineup. You don't want to give up Addison Barger's spot in the lineup. I don't know what the right play is, because in my head, it's you got to keep rolling with the guys that have been showing success all season long instead of Andrus Gimenez, who gave you 4 good games and then fell off the face of the earth. I don't know. Great defensively, but is Ernie Clement killing you defensively? Absolutely not. Is Addison Barger killing you defensively? No.
He's actually been good, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah. So the arm helps out, right? He's able to, even if he does bobble or make a little bit of a misstep, he's got a cannon from third base. So he can still beat guys out with that. So I don't know. I have a bad feeling that John Schneider is going to try to shoehorn Andrus Gimenez back in. And I'm going to be very upset about that, I think.
Well, especially with the amount of money this guy's going to be making over the next few seasons, you kind of have to play him at second base. Again, Gold Glove defense, debatably Platinum Glove defense over there at second base. One of the best infielders in all of baseball defensively. But again, it's going to be that power stroke. It's going to be how is he going to be able to hit in this lineup. Luckily, we won't have to see Andrus Gimenez hit in the 4 spot now on this team. If he's in the lineup, he's probably going to hit at best 7, probably even 8 or 9. Don't mind him as a 9 hitter. Obviously, has a little bit of speed, can turn over the order. Kind of that second leadoff hitter that you could have. But again, now that you're going to be taking away reps from Ernie Clement, you can't keep Addison Barger out of this lineup right now. Ernie Clement having 1,154 OPS against lefties. So you're going to be seeing him again every single scenario against left-handed pitching. But the issue is, even before this series, how many lefties did the Toronto Blue Jays face? You're obviously going to face a ton more right-handed pitching than you are against lefties. How much does Ernie Clement play when Andrus Gimenez comes back? I guess that's what we're going to have to see. But unfortunately, I think they will lean towards Andrus Gimenez again, just based off the trade forms, based off the defense that he can provide. As good as Ernie Clement has been, I think that will obviously eat into his playing time. But right now, when you got guys swinging hot bats like Jonathan Clase, Dave Schneider, going to be probably only a guy that again hits off lefties, going to be that 4th bench spot. So again, there's going to be a lot that is going to be revealed when Andrus Gimenez and Tyler Heineman come back. They are scheduled to come back for that Tuesday series against the Philadelphia Phillies. But there is a ton more that we want to go into. Still want to go game by game. Still kind of want to talk about Anthony Santander, that injury, how that might affect the Toronto Blue Jays. Just a long time coming for him going on the IL. Much more we're going to get into. We'll be right back after this short break. Today's episode is sponsored by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you, unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no-shells variety. We were golfing on Saturday, very hot day here in Winnipeg. When we got back, didn't have time to make anything, obviously. Had some Wonderful Pistachios on the course and actually had some when I got back as well. Very easy, convenient snack. Obviously, I didn't feel like making anything after a long day of golf. Just kind of felt like sitting on the couch, enjoying the rest of the Blue Jays game on that day. So Wonderful Pistachios, perfect convenient snack, whether it's you're going to work, whether you're golfing, whether you're with the kids, whether you're at the office. Perfect convenient snack that I love to go to in a pinch. Another nice thing about Wonderful Pistachios is that they are complete protein and they provide all 9 essential amino acids. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. That's wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
So, Carter, as we continue on, we got a lot more guys that we want to talk about. Obviously, Alejandro, Kirk. I do want to talk a little bit about the George Springer play that aggravated me beyond comprehension. But let's go game by game because it was exciting. There was a lot of plays we want to talk about. Let's start with, I guess, the Friday game that we didn't get to go over.
Yeah, that game. I'll start with Chris Bassitt. The pitching, not necessarily where you wanted it to be this weekend. Obviously, you got a great start on Thursday, but when you have Kevin Gausman talk about Chris Bassitt, didn't really look like their command was there for these two veteran guys. Again, luckily the offense did help out for him, but Chris Bassitt obviously did not have his best stuff. Kind of struggled throughout this baseball game. Throughout kind of the starting pitch just kind of struggled throughout the series, for being completely honest, other than that Saturday game. But final stat line was 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs. Chris Bassitt's a guy that is going to allow base runners, but he is typically pretty good at working his way out of these situations, working his way out of big damage, kind of controlling these at-bats. Again, didn't really see the command that we have been accustomed to seeing from Chris Bassitt so far this season. But when, again, you're looking at what the offense did in these couple of games in the series, you didn't necessarily need your starting pitching to be elite. You didn't need them to be how they have been a lot of times throughout the season, especially with a guy like Chris Bassitt. So again, not the best stuff from Bassitt, but still is able to give you 5 innings, especially with that bullpen day coming in that next game. You wanted your starting pitching to at least eat some innings. Chris Bassitt, I guess, kind of did that. 500 runs, not exactly what you want. The 2 walks, again, the command not necessarily there. Tyler Soderstrom absolutely launching baseball off of it in the top of the second was not obviously ideal to watch. But let's go back to the offense again, because this offense was absolutely ridiculous throughout the series. Just who do you want to start with? You can go with Bichette. You can go Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 32 game on base streak that obviously goes into Sunday, ripping a double first at bat. This guy has been on the absolute loose. Third longest on base streak since in the last 20 years. Jose Bautista beating him out, and then Edwin Encarnacion. I believe it was 43 games. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. getting close to that. But just in this series, in this game, just again, another dominant offensive performance against Jeffrey Springs, who has been one of the best pitchers on the Oakland Athletics this season.
Yeah. And you know what? This offense just did it all weekend. And again, we could go and I don't know, you could go game by game, but you'd spend 30 minutes talking about each game because there's that much action. The Blue Jays score 15 hits. And just going back to the Chris Bassitt and the Kevin Gausman of it all, and I mean, even if you want to throw Bowden Francis in there as well, really, Carter, the biggest thing for Gausman anyway was the fact that the A's just weren't swinging at his splitter and they weren't chasing that pitch. Bassitt just didn't have the location. And I think the great thing that you can take away from this weekend is the offense actually picking up the pitching for once. Usually if the pitchers have a bad day, see you later, it's over. You might as well just walk away from that game. But the offense showed up, and that's probably a great feeling to have coming off the mound, is knowing, hey, my team's got me today. That's probably a huge, huge confidence boost going into maybe your next outing is, oh, wow, maybe I don't have to be perfect. Maybe you're not in your own head of thinking, yeah, I have to literally go out here and be perfect, which we've had many conversations about. But so, I think, again, it just goes hand in hand. Some days your pitchers need to be unbelievable, and you need that from them. Other days you need the offense to pick them up. That's baseball. And and then every third or whatever, that's when everything comes together, or every quarter, because once in a blue moon, everything falls apart. But this was one of those times, one of those series that, the hitting had to pick up the pitching, and they did it.
See, when we're talking about the offense over this series, it's been really hard for me to differentiate the games because there's been so many hits, so many home runs, just so much offense from this team, which again is obviously great to have, but it's tough when you go back and you got to account for the 39 home runs that they had over this 4-game stretch. You got to figure out, which one was from game 2, which one was from game 4. But overall, just again, unbelievable offensive performance. I do want to give a shout out to a guy on the Oakland Athletics. Again, not very well known. I didn't know a lot about this guy going into the series, but it's Denzel Clark, a guy that is a Toronto native, coming back to Toronto, playing in front of his family. And this is one thing I do remember from that game game, because this wasn't an offensive play, but Denzel Clark has a ball hit the center field. Alejandro Kirk absolutely smacks his baseball. What a series from this guy. I'll get into him obviously a little bit more down the stretch. But Denzel Clark holds himself up on the wall, catches the ball. It's definitely a home run. Just an unbelievable play. Hit his first home run in this series, first RBI in the series. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to him and obviously his family. Definitely a big moment for them. And just again, a little bit more with the Oakland Athletics, I guess. Kudos I'm going to give out here. Jacob Wilson is ridiculous. This guy is going to be so good. It's such one of those at-bats that obviously remind you of Luis Urias. Doesn't strike out a ton. Such good bat-to-ball skills. Definitely a frustrating at-bat, fouling baseballs off left, right, and center. Lawrence Butler. Like when you look at this offensive team for the Oakland Athletics, when you look down the lineup, they don't have a very deep lineup whatsoever. They have Lawrence Butler. They have Jacob Wilson, Brent Rooker, who's obviously very good as well. Tyler Soderstrom, another guy that has been playing good this season. Shea Langoliers has some home run potential there as well. So offensively, the Oakland Athletics, not bad of a baseball team, at least with their top five. Again, once you get down the order, they don't really have a ton going for them. And the pitching obviously has been a problem as well. But just shout out to those guys in this series, and obviously not doing enough to win the Oakland Athletics a game. And they only have one win in their last 18 games. So definitely an unfortunate stretch for this Athletics team. But this will take us into this Saturday game. Obviously, this was kind of the bullpen day that you expected to see from this team. Again, when we talked about the series preview, they didn't necessarily have a pitcher going in this game, but it was definitely a rough start to the game. I thought this might be the Blue Jays coming back down to earth a little bit. Braden Fisher has been very good this season, but looked horrific in this baseball game. 5 runs in an inning and a third. Just a lot of pitches, again, kind of catching over the plate. Tyler Soderstrom, again, launching a baseball in that first inning. But then you come back. Addison Barger hits a home run in that first inning. It's a 4-3 baseball game at the end of one inning. Like that is the final score in a lot of baseball games. So as soon as you see that first inning, you see that output, Addison Barger, again, lighting the world on fire. Nathan Lucas coming back, having a very good hit in that inning, scoring 2 runs. We used to have a 3-headed monster. It used to be advertised as Kevin Bichette, Bichette, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The 3-headed monster might be Addison Barger, Ernie Clement, and Nathan Lucas. That's the 3 that we should be talking about over this weekend series. So again, just such a fun baseball game to watch. Give me those 2021 vibes. It doesn't matter how many runs your starting pitching gives up. Doesn't matter how many runs your bullpen's going to give up. You always have a chance to come back. And that's, again, what this team did in this series. Last year, they only had 12 comeback wins all season. They already have 16. So this team isn't really out of it in any scenario. So it's definitely just so fun to watch an offensive outburst. Again, we've said that a million times, but we haven't seen a series like this from the Toronto Blue Jays in a very long time, probably since the 2022 season.
And you know what? That was one of my biggest gripes with the teams over the past couple of years is when they do get down, it feels like they're right out of it. It feels like the game is over. Now, I don't know. You can call it heart, you can call it willpower. I don't know what it is. But the ability to fight back in a ball game and don't count yourselves out. You go look at the Sunday game where Addison Barger hits that home run to sort of reinvigorate the offense. That you need players that can hit home runs in clutch or needed scenarios. And I think that's something that's been missing from this team the past few years. So that is 100% really, really great to see. Obviously, the George Springer home run when nobody really thought. I don't know. I didn't know what to expect from George Springer as of lately, and he hits that home run to make the Blue Jays go ahead on that Saturday game, and just unbelievable, Carter. This offense has just been outstanding, and again, there's so much to get into because you're right. Everything sort of over a weekend of really good baseball bleeds together, and I'm thinking back. I'm like, oh, what game did Bichette come in and hit the home run? It could have been his second home run. Oh, it could have been this one. And I'm sort of all over the place with trying to remember which plays happened in what games. But overall, Carter, I'm just ecstatic in that game specifically to be to get down really early and fight your way back just says a lot about the 2025 Toronto Blue Jays in comparison to the last few years for sure.
Well, George Springer, multiple home runs in this game on that Saturday game. So again, Unk was firing on all cylinders in this game. Bichette adding a home run, obviously there as well. just, again, ridiculous series from this offense. You can go on and on and on. We can talk about how good this offense was in this series for probably the next 3 hours, but we'll try to keep this a little bit concise here. One funny thing I found from this game is that Easton Lucas comes into the game after, again, Braden Fisher kind of has a blow-up start, throws 4 2/3 innings, 4 hits, and then gets optioned the next day. So Easton Lucas comes back, provides a pretty good start for the Toronto Blue Jays, but again, just no roster spots for Easton Lucas, unfortunately, because going into the Sunday game, I know there's a play that you want to talk about, but Erik Swanson being back in this game, making his first appearance of the season, David Schneider being back in this game. Well, first thing I do want to talk about before we get into your George Springer play is Tyler Soderstrom getting just ejected from this game. I don't really know what the umpire is thinking here. He is kind of beaking him a little bit, but we have seen guys do this all the time, kind of asking about the strike zone. Obviously, you're not supposed to argue balls and strikes, but it didn't really look like anything too crazy from there. And like I said, when you don't have a very deep order, when you're the Oakland Athletics, losing one of your top 5 guys without Shea Langoliers in this game, as soon as you got past Brent Rooker, I was pretty happy with the production that we were going to get. I wasn't scared of anyone throughout that lineup. I didn't think anyone was going to do damage. So that was a massive turning point in that game. I just want to know your opinion on just how quick it seemed that the umpire didn't really have a long leash for anything about the strike zone and got him out of that game pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is a play I wanted to talk about too, because usually I understand it, right? A guy's beaking you all, a little bit. And as an ump, you could maybe just lose it and toss him out. But this one seemed insanely quick. And I went back to see sort of if anything had happened in the past few games or anything with this umpiring crew. And maybe that's why they had a short leash. There was one other time where Soderstrom sort of questions a call, but he didn't even question it. He sort of gave like an eye roll. That's the only thing I can go back to and find. I think there was one other pitch as well that he sort of gives him like a head shake. But it wasn't like he was saying words to him and just get tossed quick. So I felt really bad in that situation because the A's are already down on their luck. You're trying to battle in a baseball game to at least pick up one win, and one of your best players just gets tossed for nothing. So I'm actually on the side of Soderstrom here as well. I think that was insane to get tossed from that. But yeah, I don't know, that very weird one. Maybe the ump had a bad day or something. I'm not sure. But going back to it. Erik Swanson being back is so big. It's so good to see him back on the bump for the Toronto Blue Jays. And my boy, David Schneider, is back again. We know that he didn't have a great year last year. He didn't start this season off too well either. I understand where he's at. He's one of my favorite guys. I want to see him do well. But it's not like he's going to get a ton of playing time here. I think there's not enough spots for this guy to get an everyday role. So he's going to have to make the most of what he gets on coming off the bench, at least until Varsho's back.
Yeah, you're going to see more of a platoon kind of role with a lot of these positions now. When you have Varsho out, you have Santander out. So the only real guys in the outfield that are going to be playing every single day is George Springer, I would say. And this guy might be a guy that's DHing a whole lot as well, obviously with the age. Just with the fielding abilities, you got a bunch of young players that can play in the outfield. So I think, again, we're going to see Ernie Clement a ton against lefties. We might see David Schneider against lefties. Predominantly going to see Addison Barger probably in every scenario. Jonathan Clase switch hitter is going to be thrown into the mix as well. Alan Roden got pulled up, another outfielder that you do have. So there is a lot of guys that do need to get some playing time. So I think we're going to see a lot of split shares throughout these next few games, especially until Daulton Varsho does come back. But just kind of going into the Kevin Gausman of it all, I think we'll leave the George Springer talk for the third segment here. I just want to quickly go over Kevin Gausman's day. Again, really fighting the command all day today. It seemed like Kevin Gausman has made a nice switch where the splitter was kind of working horizontally a little bit, and that's where he was kind of getting beat up. Makes that switch, and we've seen Kevin Gausman get the swing and miss back. We've seen the ace on our baseball team finally come back to fruition. But again, in this game, struggled with some command at times, did get screwed over a couple times with some calls as well. But again, that kind of happened to both sides, obviously with the Tyler Soderstrom stuff happening. But really battled throughout the start and gave up a run in the first inning. It looked like there was going to be 4 or 5 times throughout this game where Kevin Gausman was going to blow up, but was able to work through some pitches, made some good pitches when it mattered, got some huge outs when it mattered. Again, ends up having a 4 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, but definitely gave the Blue Jays a chance to win this game, kept them in this game. And again, after he used a lot of bullpen guys in the game previous, definitely nice to get at least a little bit of life from Gausman. You probably would have wanted 6 innings, but did enough to keep them in this baseball game. Just looked like with the splitter and with the fastball, kind of lost his touch a few times mechanically, kind of looked like he was going to the wayside a little bit here. But again, when you have a veteran like Kevin Gausman, like we say, you're not going to have your best stuff every single day. So the way that he was able to battle today, get through a lot of these at-bats, just you got to give a little bit of a hat tip to Kevin Gausman.
Absolutely you do. And I think the other part of this is, yeah, you would have liked him to go 6, but I think having the off day, you understood that if you had to go to the bullpen here, it's not the end of the world. So, if he's not having his best day, I don't hate the move. I think it was a good choice. The bullpen comes up and sort of does their job as well. So good to see the pitching staff again. Not the starters, not the best weekend, but I think that you're happy that if they're not going to have their best game, that it came against the Athletics and on a day that your offense was firing on all cylinders instead of a day where you might need them to be perfect. So again, I do want to talk about the George Springer play, a couple other things going into the off day, Carter, do a little bit on Santander and a little bit on Kirk as well. So we'll come back. We'll talk about all that right after this short break. All right, the play that had a lot of Blue Jays fans upset. I was on Twitter throughout the game. Alejandro Kirk makes a great hit to score a run, a double, and you think, wow, this little 2-out rally for the boys. Let's can they grab a couple more runs here? And then not so much. So again, I'm going to go a little bit over this play. Alejandro Kirk double down the line. George Springer is going to third. Then again, you have Barger coming up right after. You're thinking, wow, this might be a spot where Barger can come up with 2 runners in scoring position and do some damage. And I really didn't think of anything, but I saw George Springer sort of hopping on the bases, and I'm like, okay. And then the tag gets placed, and I'm like, I think they got him. And I was on the phone with my mom at the time. She was watching the Blue Jays game as well. She goes, why is he jump? Oh. And I'm like, oh no. But he was called safe. And then they went to the video review, and sure enough, George Springer is bouncing up and down on the base and comes off, and the tag gets placed, and he's out. A couple on the broadcast, they were trying to spin it like George Springer's injured, or oh, he hurt himself. That's why he was trying to test it. No, the guy was jumping up and down just in pure stupidity, and that's what happened. And I don't care. You could say, oh, he hurt his leg. Stay on the base. I don't care. The play's not over. This is a dumb base running error that, yes, it didn't come back to bite you in this one. But again, stupid base running decisions and stupid base running errors will hurt you as the season goes along. There might be a win or a win that you might have gotten be taken away because of a stupid play like this. And it's of a guy that's a veteran in this league. This is something I just don't understand. It'll frustrate me forever. I don't want to spend too much time on it because they did get the win, but it's such a dumb play.
Yeah, I don't know in what scenario that you're going to be just jumping on the base like it's a trampoline. The only thing that does make sense is what they were talking about on the broadcast. You saw in a swing that George Springer kind of tweaked his ankle, and then sliding into the base, he did grab it again. But again, what's the scenario that you're going to be kind of jumping on the base, especially if your ankle is hurt? Why are you going to put a little bit more stress onto it there anyway? And clearly, George Springer has no idea where this baseball is. Matt Schumann right behind him with the ball, kind of watching him jump around, slowly kind of walks behind him, gets the tag. And like you said, as soon as I saw it happen, I'm like, this guy is for sure out. And it's sucked because the Toronto Blue Jays weren't really getting to JP Sears all day. And then they were starting to get them to him there. Obviously, Vladdy gets hit by a pitch. George Springer with a very nice single on Andrus gets that double. You're starting to get to him a little bit here. You're starting to get some momentum. Like you said, as the Barger coming up to the plate, a guy that has been on fire this entire series. And then obviously you see that, and it's definitely sucked to see, kind of sucked the momentum out of the stadium. But luckily for this baseball team, that would have been the narrative if this team lost. But then you have obviously a massive 8th inning from the likes of Addison, Barger hitting a massive 3-run home run, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hitting a double, scoring some runs, Ernie Clement getting a part of that as well. But yeah, just again, one of those dumb mental mistakes that we continue to see from the guys on this team that are veterans. Bichette doing it, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. all the time. We're seeing him make some dumb base running errors. George Springer, a guy that is usually pretty good on the bases, again, just having a little bit of a mental lapse in that baseball game, something that can't happen, especially against better baseball teams. So that could be the difference between, again, you scoring more runs in that game, you winning a baseball game, and you losing a baseball game. But obviously the offense kind of helping George Springer out a little bit here in that 6th inning. Again, just such an electric at bat from Addison Barger, not wasting any time, absolutely launching a baseball into the seats once again. And I'm just going to go over some of the guys. Like I was going to pick like the kind of the 3 stars they do in the NHL over the series for some of these offensive performances. But I couldn't pick just 3. I got 6 here that I want to go over just the stat lines from this Oakland Athletics series. So I'll start from the top here. I got Nathan Lucas, who was 4 for 11, 364 average, had a double, 4 RBIs, 1 strikeout, no walks, had 2 runs. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., another good series as well. 5 for 15, 333 average, 2 doubles, a home run, 5 RBIs, 2 Ks, 3 walks, 4 runs. Bichette, a disgusting series as well. A lot of these guys hitting over 300, obviously, in the series. He was 6 for 18, 333, 1 double, 2 home runs. 5 RBIs, 3 runs scored for him. Addison Barger, the man of the weekend. 3 home runs in the series, 5 for 13, 385, 6 RBIs, 6 runs scored. Absolutely ridiculous. Alejandro Kirk, who again kind of is going a little bit by the wayside here, a little bit with all the offensive production that we have seen. Alejandro Kirk has looked ridiculous in this last little bit of stretch here, and he's looking like he did in 2022, lining baseballs all over the place. One of the best 2-strike count hitters in all of baseball. He went 6 for 11, a 545 average, double, 4 RBIs. And then George Springer, again, a little bit more of a guy that hasn't necessarily been talked about as much over the weekend when you have performances like you got from Ernie, Clement, and Addison Barger. But he was 6 for 16, a 375 average, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 7 runs scored just from George Springer. That is absolutely ridiculous. So again, you can pick and choose that your performances from this weekend. Didn't even talk about Jonathan Clase, didn't talk about Miles Straw. There is so many guys in this series that were absolutely unbelievable. And that is the theme of the weekend, is an offensive surge, a hit parade in all 4 games of this series. Probably the most fun I've had watching this baseball team all year by far.
I'm 100% with you. This was a you don't want to miss a game type of weekend because the offense was that good. And you're right. We haven't felt that in a while. And man, it was nice. We were on the golf course, right, on the Saturday, and the game started and we were still on the course. And it was a little backed up on the course. And, we had it on our phones sitting in the carts. I looked over at you. I'm like, are you watching the game right now? You looked over at me. Yeah. You got it on? I said, yep. And then we were just pretty much narrating the games to each other when each of us were on the tee box because we were that excited. We were that into it. We were like, I haven't felt like that in a while with this team. It was sort of some games it was like, like I'm sitting here watching a 2-1 baseball game for 2.5, 3 hours every night and nothing's happening. This was one of those that this series is why you love baseball, right? This is the games you want to watch. So just a fun weekend. I'm really hoping they can carry it over with an off day. Everybody can sort of relax. Hopefully some guys are back from injury. Hopefully some guys get the rest they need. Hopefully Addison Barger, ices his arms and shoulders after the absolute hit parade that he put on. So yeah, just Carter, great weekend overall, my man.
Yeah, how are you supposed to complain about the longest win streak of the year? I thought the Blue Jays were going to do that classic thing where they win 4 games in a row, can't get over the hump, but they have a 5-game winning streak, obviously going into a Philadelphia Phillies series before the off day. But just with this team, just consistently inconsistent. Who would have thought this was going to happen this weekend, especially coming off of a road series where you scored 4 runs against the Texas Rangers, somehow won a series against the Texas Rangers. But again, just continuing on with the grind, getting over 3 games over 500, finally putting some space in between that. But the biggest thing is, can they carry it over against a good baseball team? The Philadelphia Phillies are a good ball club. Those are the kind of the series that test this team and kind of you can figure out, hey, is this team for real? Is this team going to be able to compete if they do get in a playoff scenario? That is going to be something that we're going to have to discover as this week does move on. But the last thing that we do want to go into here is the Anthony Santander injury. Won't stay here too long for this, but Anthony Santander was moved to the 10-day IL with left shoulder inflammation. That was Alek got pulled up. Clearly, Anthony Santander was hurt. I don't know why it took this long with the production that he was producing with this team, what he was doing at the plate, just the at-bats looking absolutely unserious. Him coming out with that quote that he sacrificed some power for contact is just not who Anthony Santander is whatsoever. The way he was playing, there was no benefit to having this guy in the lineup, especially when you were getting production from guys kind of this entire season, like Jonathan Clase, like Nathan Lucas, Addison Barger playing a very good brand of baseball as well. Alan Roden kind of heating up in AAA. Just didn't make sense why it took so long when this guy had multiple leg injuries. He had left hip inflammation, had left shoulder inflammation. There were so many injuries this guy did have. I just don't know why it took so long when you could see there were so many things wrong with Anthony Santander to throw this guy in the IL.
Absolutely. Absolutely ridiculous. This guy needed to be sent on the IL a long time ago. This is crazy. And if he is injured and this is a big problem, then I really have no idea why he was not put on earlier. If this is I have something slightly bothering me, give me a couple of days off to maybe get the mind right, if that's what this is, then either way, I don't care. Good enough. Get him 100% healthy. We need an 100% healthy ready to rock Anthony Santander to rejoin this lineup, because with the offense doing great things right now, imagine you have a great playing Anthony Santander to inject into this lineup as well. Oh my God, it would be disgusting.
Yeah, imagine this offense right now, and you get Anthony Santander just being okay, just being like kind of the typical Anthony Santander that you would be accustomed to seeing. Doesn't have to hit 44 home runs to be good for this offense, but putting that power bat into this lineup, having him swing the bat like he normally does, would just, again, elevate the floor of this offense to a very good spot if they can continue to play baseball like this. I'm going to end off this episode like this. John Schneider had a quote before this series about the Toronto Blue Jays offense. He said, hopefully we can kind of just move on from the tough road trip offensively and get back to work. I think they got back to work because it went pretty well against the Oakland Athletics. Again, a team that has been struggling, one of the worst teams in baseball over these last 20 games or so, probably having them in the Colorado Rockies competing for the toilet bowl right now, if that was a thing that the MLB did. But again, you got to take advantage of struggling teams. You got to win baseball games when they're kind of given to you a little bit from this Oakland Athletics pitching staff. And the Toronto Blue Jays took full advantage, obviously, of this struggling baseball team. Cannot hate on really any of the performances, other than, I guess, maybe some of the pitching that you saw from this weekend. But the narrative is, again, it's very nice to see that when your pitching has been lagging and you finally see the offense kind of picking them up when they don't have necessarily their best stuff over this weekend.
Yeah, overall, it was a fun, great weekend of baseball. Carter, we kick slow pitch off this week for both of our leagues now, so we'll be cooking, we'll be rocking. I'm excited for that, excited to get back out there. And then next week, I'm gone for a week, so it'll be Carter running the ship here with a couple of guests that we'll have ready to rock as well. So I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm going to still try to hop on here for as many episodes as I can, because my goal is to still watch Blue Jays games, because that's what I love to do more than anything. So I will try my best to actually be able to get on the podcast. We'll see how the Wi-Fi situation is as well. But I'm sure Carter's going to do a great job, and the guests that we will have, I hope you guys are excited for, because they're guys that love this game, that love this team as well. So it should be fun. As always, we appreciate all of you guys tuning in, listening, watching, and taking in all of our content, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're listening to podcasts, TikTok. It's all great, and we really do appreciate it. This is, we're hoping it's going to be a great season for this 2025 Toronto Blue Jays team. Carter, anything else before we kick out of here for the day?
Yeah, just what a weekend. I mean, grab that celebratory drink, maybe have that cheat meal, because we've earned it. What a series from this team. And the Blue Jays are going to be getting after it, especially with that off day on Monday. And they deserve it. So credit to them for one of the best weeks of baseball that we have seen in this 2025 season. But just wanted to say again, thank you guys for watching. All the likes, comments, all this just support recently has been much appreciated, whether it's through the Discord, whether it's commenting on our videos, the likes, obviously the shorts that we do post. We appreciate all of you guys tuning in every single day to listen to us talk about the baseball team that we do love. Just want to say thank you guys for watching one more time, and we will talk to you guys again on Monday, or on Tuesday, sorry.